if you have something that you wanted to start, like in content creation, if you wanted to start a page or a platform, like it just shows that it is worth it to just get started, to just try, to put yourself out there, to document what it is you're doing, to create a storyline and take people along with you.
Welcome back to the Cypress Room, where we dive deep on influencing with integrity. I am Christina Mascari of Pretty Distressed.
And I'm Meggie Honeycutt with Spark Creative. And we're back. We're back in the podcast studio.
We're back in the podcast studio, and we have lots of things to talk about. But before 100%. I get into all the things that we're going to talk about, this whole episode is going to be dedicated to Alabama Rush Talk.
Yes. We are so excited. If you have been living under a rock and you aren't sure what that is, stay tuned because you're going to learn probably more than you ever wanted to know about Bama Rush Talk and everything that went along with it this sorority recruitment season, right?
Yes, we are. And there's so many things to learn from it. There's brand deals. There's content creators who have been born in a matter of 5 weeks that are like 18 years old. And the reach that they have, the audience that they have, from millennials to basically boomers. I've seen even boomers interacting on TikTok. It just kind of took over. And we were so involved in it. And I was in my sick bed for a week. So I really had not a lot to do but scroll through Bama Rush Talk. And we were talking about, we're like, let's just do a whole episode on it. We have a whole sorority story. So it's going to be really fun. So stick around. If you don't know anything about sorority recruitment or Alabama Rush Talk, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, it's still going to be really fun. If you were never in a sorority, it's still going to be really fun. And there's lots of content, like brand partnerships. I
was going to say,
I think that you can learn from it. So this is going to be a fun episode.
I think we can take away from why it's popular, how we got so invested as 40-somethings.
Right.
I mean, really.
Right.
But I was all in.
Yeah.
Like checking, wanting to see what sororities girls got, listening to all the commentary, and then people start sharing their rush stories. I was all in.
So we have notes upon notes, you guys. This was going to be a section in another podcast, and we were just like, no, we have to make this whole episode. But before we just jump into the episode, we have lots to catch up on because this is the first time we're back in the Cypress Room in how long?
Since the beginning of June. I mean, just a little behind the scenes info for you guys is we kind of, because of our schedules, we batch record. So in June, we recorded our June episodes, but it was at the beginning of June here. Then we went to Haven Conference and we got to do some really fun interviews. If you haven't seen those yet, definitely check them out. So now it's August and here we are back.
Back in the Cypress Room. And what do we have, Meggie?
Do you guys notice our sign?
We have... This is our beautiful logo that was designed by a graphic designer that we hired. It's the only thing that we've outsourced during this whole process, but we're so glad we did because we love our logo. And we have a bunch of different variations of it. And so I think we're going to be doing merch here kind of soon in the fall. We're thinking beanies, sweatshirts. So keep an eye out for that, you guys. Wait. But I did a little Cricut project and put our logo up on here so we don't have this like bare wall, and I think it's
like
really
we're
cool.
Official.
It feels really official in here. So I'm excited to be filming with the Cypress Room logo for the first time. And like I said, I'm coming off of a week of being really sick, you guys. I was in bed for like 3 days straight. Could not get out of bed. This is the first day I've put on makeup and gotten dressed. So you might notice my voice is a little bit off today, but we really wanted to film. We really wanted to just get back into it. So
this is the pressing through, right?
Yeah. And our kids are back in school now.
So we're learning
like that whole new rhythm of driving people to all the places all day long and what that looks like.
Yes. The back to school grind is in full effect.
Yeah.
But it's good. I mean, I think it's felt good to get back into a rhythm.
Yeah, I'm not quite in a rhythm yet because two of my oldest started later than the rest of our kids. All of our other kids kind of went back like 3 weeks ago, and then my other two just started like this week. So I'm still getting my footing, and throwing in sickness in that was not the best thing, but we're here. We carry on. This is what we do. This is what moms do. Business owners do. We soldier on. We got to get through all the things. We persevere.
Yes.
Okay, and there's one more thing that I have to talk about before we jump into Rush Talk.
And what is that?
Did you know that this is our 11th episode?
I did know that.
Did you remember back in the day when we first did our first episode and I said, we're going to try to make it to 8. Can we make it to 8? Well, we made it to 8 and beyond.
We did.
And I actually pulled up a fun statistic because do you have any idea how many podcasts there are currently in the library of podcasts?
I mean, it's millions, but it's a small percentage that actually do multiple episodes.
Here's my stats that I pulled because I knew this was going to be our 11th episode. So we have actually made it through 10. So there are 3 to 4 million podcasts registered like in the world on, all the different platforms. Only 720,000 have more than 10 episodes.
Wow.
So we are in the 720K club. Out of 3 to 4 million.
So cool.
That feels like pretty good odds.
It does. No, I wonder. I'm curious. We'll have to look again when we make it to 20. Because don't you think it dips? Probably even more.
I'm sure. And then especially like if those, I think there's probably even a smaller percentage of like how many of those are still active today. But just knowing that we made like past this first milestone, I'm very proud of you, friend. So congratulations.
I'm proud of you too. We've done it. And I mean, we hit 500 subscribers on YouTube this summer, which is incredible. So thank you all so much for being part of our community, for watching, for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that right now. And
and if you're exciting. We put all these up on YouTube. So if you're listening on an audio platform, we would love for you to come on YouTube because you can comment on the videos. And you can see us and you can see the Cypress Room. And it would be very important for you to see us today because in honor of Alabama Rush Talk, we are going to do our OOTD, the outfit of the day, I believe.
Yes,
and this is what these girls do during Rush. They get on TikTok and tell their outfit of the day. So would you like to go first with your outfit of the day?
I would love to. Well, today I am wearing my Lulu Track That shorts. I did learn through Alabama Rush Talk, nobody says Lululemon. They say just Lulu. Lulu Track That shorts. Okay. My very favorite. Just a basic tee. Nothing special.
Wait, you got to say where you got it. Like, even if it's like Amazon, Walmart,
this
Target.
One is from Loft.
Okay. See?
Loft. And then I am wearing my Kendra Scott jewelry. You can't see my earrings, but they're Kendra Scott too. My Apple Watch, and I don't wear bracelets. I did learn through Bama Rush Talk, bracelets are huge.
Bracelets are a thing, and they stack them.
I'm not a bracelet person.
But you're repping the Kendra Scott. There was a lot of Kendra Scott on OOTDs.
Just for our Bama Rush Talk episode. And I have my Nike Air Maxes on, which are, I don't know if you guys can see them, my favorite.
Okay. So I don't know how prepared I am for this OOTD, and I don't really have anything super cool on. I have David Yurman, so I should have put David Yurman on.
You should have.
We're gonna talk about all the brands that were highlighted during Alabama Rush Talk, but I'm gonna try to do it in true, because I'm a content creator, so I'm gonna try to do it in full like Alabama Rush mode.
Okay.
My top is Abercrombie. I already messed up. My top is Abercrombie. My joggers are Abercrombie, and my shoes are Nike Air Force Ones. And my necklace is from, I can't remember. I'll just say Amazon.
Well done.
I thought it was going to be so much better, but I choked. It's hard. I give credit to these girls. It is hard to do this. Okay. So let's start at the very beginning. For anybody who doesn't even know what a sorority is or what recruitment is, do you feel like you could give us?
Well, I can define recruitment, but how would you even describe a sorority? How would you describe it?
It's a club. I thought we were going to have an issue with this. So I actually I have a definition in our notes just for like Bama Rush Talk, if you guys don't know what we're talking about. So Rush Talk primarily features videos of potential new members. So these are girls who are going through sorority recruitment, and they're describing their OOTDs, like we just did, their outfit of the day for each of the main sorority events. And it's mostly at Southern universities that this Rush Talk phenomenon has happened. So typically the first week or the week before school starts at these Southern universities, these girls move in and they sign up for what is called recruitment. And so the university could have anywhere from like 5 sororities to like 25 or 24 sororities like Alabama has. Alabama, I think, has one of the biggest. Greek life is what it's called.
Yep.
And so they have the opportunity to sign up for recruitment. They visit all these different sororities. It's like a week-long event. And they get invited to the house and they basically interview each other all week to try to get a bid or an offer to join that sorority. And a sorority is basically just a club for females.
Yeah, I think they originally started as philanthropic like organizations. They were all built around a specific philanthropy, but as the years went on, they became about so much more than that.
There's social aspects to it. There's philanthropy to it, which philanthropy is just they have a nonprofit that they serve and they raise money for and they donate hours to.
There's an academic portion to it because to be in a sorority, it requires they have pretty strict policies around your grades and academics, especially to participate in all the fun social things that they do.
Right.
That's another part of sororities is the social part. Sororities also are very involved in campus life.
Yeah. Go to the games.
Homecoming was always a huge thing for my college, where sororities had a whole spirit week and they did a parade and floats. And so it's a lot of stuff that you do as part of a sorority. Mm-hmm.
And there's usually like competitions and stuff. Like I remember St. Jude's Hospital is in Memphis. If you guys have ever heard of that, they do research and treatment for cancer patients that are children. And we always had a huge fundraiser every year. And like all the sororities and fraternities would basically like have a battle to see who could raise the most money. And we would stay up all night to help the kids fight. That's what we would say. And there would be all these little competitions and stuff. So if you're not familiar, I guess, with Greek life, it just kind of makes a university smaller. It's a way to get involved. I mean, there's tons of ways to get involved on campus. There's a bunch of different clubs. But Greek life is a commitment for 4 years. And like you said, you have to have grades and, like a resume going into it. And you have to be selected by that club to get in.
And part of I think the mindset around it too is to prepare you for life after college. Like recruitment's a lot about like learning how to interview and be interviewed. I know at our sorority at chapter dinners that we learned etiquette, like for business dinners. Okay. There's all kinds of stuff, at least my sorority did, to try to prepare us for life beyond the sorority. And when you do get out of college, it can be a great networking tool. In some cases, I guess. So.
Yeah. And so obviously we were both in sororities.
Yes.
We rushed in the 1900s. I mean, technically I rushed in 2000. I went to an even smaller school than Meggie. So I went to a state school here in Tennessee. And when I joined, we only had 6 sororities. And by the time I left, we had 7. But geez, I can't even remember how many people were in our chapter. It probably was like 100 per chapter. And because I remember our rush quota was usually around like 50. And I think the rush quota, which we'll get into this a little bit later too, for these Alabama, at least the rumor was that their quota just for their pledge class was like 250.
Yeah.
That's like insane.
Yeah. That's what
and there were, and I think I read, was it 2,500 girls going through rush or recruitment? Did I read that right?
I don't know. Well, if there's 24 sororities and everyone, there is 250.
It would be more than that. I think there were like, I think it was 2,500 or 3,000 girls going through recruitment, which is so many, you guys, because on the backside of being in a sorority and like having to go through the recruitment process, you have to vote on every single one of those people that you meet, and you have to talk about every one of those people you meet, and you have to do that after you do these recruitment parties. So I remember like our first and second night of like having to whittle things down. We were there like all night, and we were there, and it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. And we're probably not supposed to talk about this stuff, but I don't care. It's 20 years later. We were there at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Some of us were like, we have to end this meeting. Like we have class in 2 hours, because ours was during school. Like we didn't do it before school.
Wow.
And I just remember being like so tired and being like, we have to go. Like, I have to go to bed.
They have to have a much more efficient process.
They must. I'm sure it's like computers and all the things now. So.
Yeah. So interesting.
So interesting. So should we, okay, wait, I kind of want to talk more about our sorority experience, but should we jump more into what actually Rush Talk
Well,
is
let's
these
start
days.
with like, why do we care? And I think that's why, because for me, I was in a sorority in college. I didn't really have like a typical Rush experience because my sorority that I ended up joining was new to campus, and I just like had friends that were already in it.
Okay.
So I never did Rush the way that you're seeing on Bama Rush Talk. I did it on the other side as a member already, but I didn't do it.
Okay, wait. Did you do like a spring recruitment?
No, it was like in the fall is what I remember. Rush had already happened. I don't know if they didn't meet quota or they were a brand new sorority.
Okay, so maybe they didn't do recruitment. Maybe they were.
Yeah,
were you like a founding member?
Yes. I was part of a founding member class for Kappa Delta.
Okay, that's totally different then.
Yeah, so it was different. So for me, that's why I'm so like interested in it, because I think I've always thought for college, that's probably the period of my life that I would like go back and redo. Like if I had a chance, I probably would have done like
just knowing more
primary recruitment, because I love to watch and I'm so interested and I love to see where everybody ended up. And so I think that's why I initially get so invested, because it was a different experience for me.
And I think that's the same too, because I didn't rush until I was a sophomore. I was in like the band of blue. So I've always been in marching band. And so that was like, when I went to college, the band of blue is huge. It was like, I don't know, 300 people. So it was basically like like being in your club, and we traveled and all this stuff. And that was like my social life, because there were lots of parties and things like that. So I had never thought about rushing, and like my sophomore year, we ended up, one of our roommates moved out. So we had like this random roommate that came in that like was a friend of a friend of a friend or something. And she was a Kappa Delta. And she was like, we had never even thought about Greek life. I had never even really heard about Greek life, because we didn't have to live on campus either at MTSU. And so she came in and she's like, oh my gosh, like, are y'all Greek? And we're like, no, what is that? And she was just like all about Kappa Delta. She was like, y'all have to rush. I mean, this is probably illegal, because you're really not supposed to get recruited like this before recruitment. But so she was like, you guys should really rush. And we were like, okay, I don't know, whatever. And so we went into it with the mindset of like, if we do this, we're joining this specific sorority.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really go into it with an open mind. And because it was during school, we had a football game that we had to go to down at the University of Florida. And it was required. So I remember I missed like the 3 middle days of Rush. So I basically went to the first day of Rush, which they call now convocation. We didn't call it that. I can't remember what we called it. But I missed philanthropy, and I missed sisterhood, and I came in for pref. So I went from like the very first night of going into all 6 sororities. And then I think I had to drop one before I left. And then when I came back, my Rokai was like, well, that sorority didn't drop you, but this other sorority did. So I just kept them for you. So you can basically choose from these 5 sororities, which you want to pref. And so I picked 2 of them. But basically I went in knowing I was going to choose Kappa Delta, because my roommate was in there. So I really didn't go into it with an open mind, and basically just went in it similar with you. Like, well, I'm just going to join this one. So I think that's why it fascinates me, because these girls are going in completely blind, unless they have like a friend or something in the sorority.
Or they're a legacy.
Yeah, or they're a legacy where they have like a family member or something that did it, or a sister or a mom or aunt. And during Rush Talk, these girls come up on the scene, because they're just every day of recruitment, they're like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm going to do my OOTD. And they basically don't really talk about themselves that much. Yeah. They don't talk about what sorority they're wanting to do. They don't talk about where they visit. It's basically like, because I think they're told not to.
Yeah.
From what I understand, this is all just hearsay, you guys.
Yes.
But I think when they go to the first day of recruitment, they say, hey, like, keep your social media presence to a minimum. Don't talk about the houses that you're going to. Like, really just have this be a private time for you. Don't talk to the media. Like, this needs to, because it is like, it's not really for the world to spectate, but it has become. So they come on here every day and they're like, this is my outfit. And like every day, like some days they have to wear a t-shirt that Panhellenic, who runs all the sororities, gave them. And so they would wear like a t-shirt and basically like cute like Lulu shorts or skirts and athletic shoes. So do you want to talk a little bit about like the brands that some of these girls are wearing?
That was another super interesting thing about Rush Talk this year, is that all these new brands suddenly were brought like to attention. because of these girls and like what they're wearing. And some of them were Kendra Scott.
Yeah.
David Yurman jewelry.
I'm so surprised,
which is so surprising
by
to
David
me.
Yurman, because it seems like, because my husband has always, like, for special occasions, once we're doing well in our lives, like for an anniversary, like a 5-year anniversary or something like that, would give me a piece of David Yurman jewelry. And he's from Chicago, and it seems like to me a very like Italian thing. So I thought it was very like niche and definitely not something that young girls would wear, but there are so many girls that wear David Yurman.
The other jewelry brand that I had never heard of before was E. Newton.
E. Newton.
Have you heard of them before?
Mm-mm. And did you look them up? Are they just like, I think it's mostly bracelets and they're like stackables.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it's like, and most of the girls would have multiple.
Yes.
And it's like, but each one is pretty expensive. And then they would have like 5 bracelets. But I will tell you, it's not all about the money, because I went pretty deep on this, you guys. Because like I said, I was in my sick bed and I'm like, okay, I want to just find like just a person that I could relate with, that I'd be like, oh, that was like me going through rush. And there were girls on there, like one of my favorite, there's a girl named Isabella, and she would get on there every day, and her 2 roommates too would come in, and they were all like so different, all looked very different. And they would just be like, this is from Amazon. This is from Target. Like this is from, but then they had like some nice stuff too. But so it was like high-low mix. And I'm like, oh, this seems more relatable to me. This seems like,
more
oh yeah, maybe you
relatable.
got like a really nice graduation present, like necklace. Like I think she had Kendra Scott. So she like had a Kendra Scott necklace on every day. But then she was like, this is from Amazon. This is from like Aerie, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's not all of that. I think the ones with like E. Newton, Hermes, David Yurman, and like people would do TikToks like totaling up everything that person was wearing. It'd be like over $6,000. But again, they would wear that jewelry like every day. It's not like they were replacing $6,000 jewelry every day. And it's like, yeah, I guess there are just some people, there are some people that have a lot of money.
Yeah.
I guess. And are willing to spend it on their kids.
That goes to some other, like Golden Goose was huge, which is another high-end brand of sneakers. Hoka's, which I honestly thought were only like older people running shoes for people who needed extra support. So I was really shocked to see
and
Hoka's.
On Clouds. You should have worn your On Clouds today. Well, you wear On Clouds. I've never worn On Clouds.
I do. I love On Clouds. And I did almost wear them today, but they're my favorite workout shoes.
The people obviously who stood out to me were the same people that stood out to everybody. Mm-hmm. I think the first person that I came across was Bama Morgan.
Yep.
And she looked like I looked going through rush.
Yes,
she had a t-shirt
100%.
on and shorts and barely any makeup and just her hair like kind of flat ironed. And it looked like me from, 2000.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my gosh, this girl is just like a normal girl that doesn't have all these brand names on. And she's just like here trying to like be in a sorority, and was not self-deprecating, but just like, I don't know what I'm doing. And like, it was so hot today and like, oh my gosh. And I'm so exhausted. And was just like being honest about how you really feel. And you weren't seeing that from anybody else. And now in hindsight, I know that's probably because they weren't really supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
And then the other girl that I spoke about earlier, Isabella, she was just like really sweet and just looked different. She's a person of color. So she was just something different on my screen and just really warm and bubbly. And again, not wearing all that brand name stuff. And then having her roommates come in, and it seemed like they were having fun together. And so I was like very invested. I'm like, where's she going to go? Where's her roommates going to go? I was like, oh my gosh, why do I care so much? And then of course, Bella Grace.
Yes.
Everybody
I loved
likes
Bella Grace. She was just wholesome and angelic, and also not wearing like every name brand. But
she actually didn't talk about, I don't think she did
talk
OOTDs.
about, she just showed what she was wearing, but she didn't name
But
brands.
she was mostly talking about the experience too.
Yes.
She was just like, I'm so nervous and I'm really looking for my sisters, and I've had a hard experience in high school. I came from a small high school and I've never had a lot of close girlfriends. So she just kind of was putting herself all out there.
Yes.
And just like you could tell she was very invested in the process and really wanted it to work for her.
Yeah.
With Morgan, I don't think think she seemed as invested. It just seemed like, hey, this is fun. And I know I don't look like everybody else. And I know I don't fit in, but I kind of want to be here to show everybody that like, it doesn't matter. You can do it too. I'm doing it. Like, I hope this encourages you to try to do it too. So I think those for me were the standouts. Were there anybody else that you watched?
The other one that I followed and kept getting pushed in my feed was Kylan Darnell.
Oh yeah, I followed her.
Yeah. She wasn't a new member, but she was going through it as a sophomore on the other side of recruitment.
Yeah.
And I mainly followed her because she has turned her recruitment experience from last year and has been able to sustain what the success of her last year's content and made it into like a career. Like she talks about how now she makes all her own money and like she must be doing really well. I mean, it appears that way. And so it just fascinated me like, okay, what has she done? What is different? And there's a lot of different things I think we can take away from her.
It will be interesting because she was the kind of the darling, the breakout star of last year's Rush Talk. And I kind of watched her a little bit. That was the first time I was ever introduced to it, but I was not fully invested as I was this year. And I watched a lot of her stuff because it was fun to be like, okay, we have the new members, the potential new members coming here today. And this is how we're prepping. So it was fun to see like the other side of how the sorority is getting ready for recruitment. And I am fascinated about how much control, because every sorority has like a advisory board that is adults that are alumni. And we just know this by being in a sorority. So I'm interested to know like how white knuckled they are about this social media thing, because it is like, it can be a blessing, but it can also be a curse. And you do see a lot of these sororities the week leading up to recruitment, they're making all these dance videos and they are utilizing TikTok to get people to want to come to their house, to want to join their sorority. And then they have all the new members coming through and they're like, well, we don't really want you to use it. And like, and with a case like, what's her name? Kylan. I wonder how much control they have over like, you can share this, but don't share this. Like, I wonder how much of a PR aspect there is behind the scenes. Cause that's where my mind goes because I used to be in PR. But it is like, it's a tool that they can use to recruit. But at the same time, it's like, do they want all of their business out there? And it seems like a safety issue too. I mean, these are beautiful, like young girls. Yeah. And so I just worry. And again, too, as we're watching all of this, you have to remind yourself, like, these girls are, yes, they're adults because they're 18, but they're still babies. Yeah. And so I think all of us, 40-year-olds were really like, felt like mama bear for some of these girls. Yes. And then watching some of them getting dropped during the recruitment process and not making it to the end, it was just like, I was so invested. I wanted them to get the house that they were going for because I've been there. I've been in their shoes and my sorority experience was mostly positive. Yes. But it's not for everybody.
Well, so just switching gears, we talked about our favorite, Rush Talk stars, but let's talk about like, what can we learn from how they became successful? Like, what do you think the elements were that made people want to follow them, that made them blow up, why the brands were loving them, and like, what can we take away from it?
I mean, it's something we talk about all the time on here, and I think it just boils down to authenticity. Those girls were just getting on there because they were excited to share about their outfit or share about their experience. They weren't trying to get brand deals. They weren't trying to get PR packages. The ones I saw weren't. Right. It'll be interesting to see what happens next year because it blew up so much this year. There was even an article in Teen Vogue in the middle of the week because these two girls, the Bama Morgan and Bella Grace, just blew up so much and they looked so different from what people have followed in the past. And I think it got people really hopeful for like, wow, this is what people want. This is what people are following. And then, through the process, Morgan ended up not getting a bid and getting dropped from the process. And that I feel like was a blow to a bunch of people watching. They're like, oh no, look, it is, just about how you look. It is elitist. It is that and this, but you know what? Just the content that Morgan has put out since she ended up dropping out of recruitment, I think she's going to be fine. I think she's in a good spot. I think she's ended up exactly where she's supposed to be. And it's going to be fun to see if she can pivot this into a career, because I think she's a good storyteller. I think she's authentic. I think she's just a regular person living a regular life. And people like to follow that, and people like to see people like that succeed and get these PR packages and things like that, like an unlikely spokesperson or ambassador. Yeah. And I think if there are things that she really loves and feels passionate about, that she could be just as successful as like someone who went, was the darling of Rush last year and is still being a content creator. I think she can, the path is going to look different, but I think she can be just as successful as that person. So it'll be interesting to see how time tells with her. And she already has an agent.
Yes. And so does Bella Grace. I noticed she signed with the same agency.
Oh, did she? Mm-hmm. Okay. I didn't see that. And
But
that's the same agency that Kylan's with as well.
Okay. Well, they have a type then.
Well, and they're, I guess maybe they are specifically with young college people, because I know they signed.
And on TikTok.
They actually signed another person who went through Rush last year and ended up dropping out. So very interesting. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But in full disclosure, we made some Sorority Rush content because we're content creators. So I did a stitch with Morgan. You did one about why you were loving Bama Rush and who you loved. And the stitch I did with Morgan, it got like 20,000 views, which is not bad for TikTok.
Yeah.
And just the comments on there, I was just saying like, I love her. And I sent her a DM, you guys, being like, hey, you need to get an agent, because I saw these brands in her.
It's like sharks in the water.
It was like NYX and Playtex and Sonic and Kendra Scott and TJ Maxx and Marshalls. And it's like, girl, these are brands that pay money. Like, don't let them just be sending you a PR box and you just telling everybody about it and wearing their stuff without there being some type of like, let's talk about this first.
Yeah.
And I just basically sent her a nice note being like, hey, make sure your parents like get you an agent. And I think she got an agent halfway through Rush, which everyone said was why she didn't get a bid. I don't agree with that, because like you said, there's tons of girls getting exposure and stuff like that. And I don't honestly think that these sororities are on TikTok at night. They're too busy voting, trying to figure out who they're going to give bids to. I don't think they have time to be on TikTok. Maybe they do. I don't know. It's all speculation. But yeah, so full disclosure, I hopped into Morgan's DM. She never responded, but she did read it. But she probably already had an agent by then. But I've been like, as a content creator, I'm watching all these brands showing up in their comments. I became really protective of these girls. I'm like, they need somebody who knows what they're doing in their corner so that they don't get taken advantage of and they don't think, oh, look, free stuff. It's so cool. And then, they have so many eyes on them right now. If they are doing something for a company, they really deserve to be paid for it. So You know how I feel.
Well, one thing that I think we can learn from them, and this is kind of a trend we've been seeing this year in social media, is just that we're really moving towards more documenting instead of curating content. Like, people are preferring content where somebody's really just documenting real time. It's not super polished. It's not overproduced. Not overthought, more like off the cuff type content. And I think all of these girls that really came up in this year, that's exactly what they were doing. Yeah. I think they were also telling a story, which we love storytelling. At least I know for me personally, I love when somebody takes me on a journey and you get invested and you want to know the outcome, so you continue following. And I think that was really what Rush did. And these girls did a great job of also consistent posting. They were showing up every day. I also think part of it for TikTok is TikTok seems to really be loving videos over a minute right now. And all these girls that were doing this, their videos were over a minute. They were more on the 90-second to 3-minute mark, which I think helped them as well. So it's like kind of this melting pot of all these different factors. Number one, I think, being that relatability, but also this beautiful, fun storyline of Rush and these girls that everybody can see a little piece of themselves in. Like you said, Morgan, or when Bella Grace was like, oh, I just didn't have a network of girlfriends in high school. Like, I felt that because that was me in high school. I went to college hoping that's where I would make my set of girlfriends, and, have a bigger friend group. So I think it's like all these different factors that made people get invested for different reasons.
Right.
But so let's talk about now, like, what can they do to sustain the success? Is it continuing to do the same thing? What are your thoughts there?
I think they're gonna have to figure it out because, everybody was so invested in Rush and we kind of understood it and kind of did it. And so we were checking in every day. Everybody's doing the same thing. So it's like on my top of mind, I'm going to scroll through and see how everybody's day is going.
Yeah.
Well, now we don't have that event anymore.
Yes.
So how are you going to consistently create that? What's your storyline going to be? Is it like, I'm a freshman at college at this big university? How am I going to find my friends? Is that going to be your story? Or is it just going to be like Morgan has a little bit of an edge to her where she's just kind of like funny. She's like sarcastically dry, funny. She has this bit that she does about finding a scooter and she's named it Bertha. So she's like creative in that way of like doing a story, but it being fun and relatable. And so we'll see how she goes forward with that because you can't just do an OOTD every day.
No, or get ready with me.
That's going to work with some girls who are like cute and not even cute, like that are stylish and are into makeup and are into hair. People will always watch that stuff. I watch that stuff and I'm not even into really do any of that thing, but that stuff just interests people. So if that's not your thing, you have to, tell a story and figure out if you like it. Because there's a difference between doing it for 1 week and doing it week after week. And there's one girl that I saw, and I don't know her name, but I was just scrolling and she was responding to like negative comments from her bid day video. And she was like, I'm saying my chapter right, blah, blah, blah. And she was going through and making a video and responding to like every comment that was negative. And I'm like, oh, this girl's never going to make it. So that again, too, is where it's great to have management on your side if you blow up really fast, because they can kind of help you navigate. Like, you don't have to respond to every negative comment.
Yeah.
You don't have to address everything that people think is wrong with you. Especially at 18 years old, I can't imagine. I just know how I struggled when I first started getting on social media, and I just had a lot more life behind me, and it still was really hard on me when people would say mean things to me and say mean things about the things that I was doing, and it was hard to not take it personally. So I can't imagine as an 18-year-old girl,
I know,
just kind of stepping into your own and being on your own for the first time, how that goes. But it seems like a lot of them have like a lot of support from their parents. So hopefully if they decide they want to keep doing it, I think it's great. If they decide this was just kind of like a flash in the pan thing and they stop doing it, I think that's fine too.
Yeah. But I do think it's really cool to, I mean, when I went to college as an 18-year-old, we were all broke as a joke, and there were not many options for earning income. And now for these 18-year-olds, there's all these opportunities where they can earn an income while they're at college, which I think is so cool. So I think that could be an incentive too. Like, it's nice to be in college.
Yeah. And you think of
broke.
like, I like, the rules that they made for the change in college, how athletes are now able to make money off of their likeness.
Right.
And on social media.
And this is a similar thing.
Yeah. This is a similar thing for a regular person. And I'm just thinking about, I was looking up last night just about the University of Alabama that costs around $30,000 a year, I think, in state. That's without any assistance. Morgan could get one deal that could
pay for her college.
It's
incredible.
Yeah. And that would be so amazing to be able to, if that's all she gets out of it, to get a couple of deals that you can just pay for your college and graduate debt free. Like, how amazing would that be? All just because she put herself out there to say, hey, I'm rushing, and it didn't work out for her in the end. But who's to know? Maybe we could do a part 2 next year where she goes through it again. I went through it as a sophomore. Yeah. And I think there's just so many people out there encouraging her. She has like 500 aunties and mamas. And this is the thing that I noticed too, because not only was I watching like the Rush Talk content, I was watching all the people like me talking about it and making content. Like I said, I made a stitch. There were women of all different colors. There were Black women. There were, Indian women. I just saw so many different colors, so many different ages. And we were all just invested and rooting for these girls, like mamas and aunties, like women in their 40s, women in their 50s. A lot of millennials were like, oh, I'm sitting here in my TJ Maxx outfit watching all these OOTDs. But it was something that we were all kind of like coming together on and bonding on.
Yes.
And I just found it
pretty
so cool and fascinating. And the people that just commented on my video that I stitched, like, were all just so sweet and positive. Like, yeah, we're rooting for Morgan. Oh, she's our girl. Oh, I'm glad you're watching out for her. Yeah, these brands better pay up. Like, it was just kind of really, it was really fun.
I think it brought out a fun side
Yeah.
of social media because, you know, usually, I mean, TikTok, it can be a place for some really bad haters. Like, there are some cutting comments on TikTok more so than other platforms. So for me, it was really fun to see so much positivity, so much encouragement come out of this trend and this kind of content. So I think that's great. And that's, I hope, a good sign for the future that we are all learning to be more kind and encouraging and supportive of people wherever they're at online.
Yeah. I think we covered everything I have on my list. Is there anything else? What do you think is the future for these girls?
I think, first of all, they have to want to continue beyond recruitment. And who knows if they will want to, but I think it will require the same consistency, relatability, but they will have to start telling another story. And it'll be fun to see if they decide to do that and what it will be. So yeah, I mean, I like for Bella Grace, I'm thinking as like a manager and agent. I mean, her storyline could be, does she find her friends? Does she find her home and her group of girlfriends? What is that like for her? And her journey from like small town Catholic school to big university and sorority is like a really intriguing storyline to me. So I think there's a lot of possibilities there. It's just a matter of, does she want to mess with that or does she just want to, you know, have fun and enjoy her first year of college?
Right.
And I think with Morgan, it's the same thing. And she has, I just think she has a lot of potential too with her humor, with even that she's already creating inside jokes with her followers, which I think is a big part of creating an online community. So I think if she can continue to do that, like for her, even just documenting her day to day is really fun because she does have those little things that are quirky and fun and inside jokes. So yeah, I hope that they continue and it'll be really fun to see if Morgan decides to go back for spring or fall recruitment as a sophomore. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was really interesting to me too because if you guys have heard of the brand Winky Lux, they actually went down there during recruitment with 2 other brands and set up like their CEO, like their owner went down there.
They had a party.
They had a party. They set up because
she mentioned one of their products.
She set up a gifting suite in a hotel and they invited people there. And not all that, like, again, there's all these rumors that like, this is why Morgan didn't get a bid, but all the other girls that went to that thing, all these other girls that posted on social media all got bids. So it'll be interesting to see how Greek life at Alabama kind of handles this next year. If they make any changes in recruitment, if they just put a like, you know, period, you cannot post on TikTok at all. Or if I think they should embrace it because it's so much, there's so much good. You have to be able to take the bad with the good that comes from it, because I think it humanized these girls that are going through this recruitment. It's not, you know, there was this big scandalous documentary that came out on Max. I heard it was terrible and it was mostly about the director, not really about recruitment. But like people are trying so much to scandalize it. I think it's better to kind of keep it open so that because people are so interested. let's see like what we can do of this. And I think there were so many beautiful, sweet girls that came out of it. And like you said, they could have an opportunity to be making some serious income in college instead of just being broke as a joke and graduating college debt free. I think that's amazing to be able to have that opportunity. So I hope they embrace it and not like ban it.
For sure.
It does happen at other universities, but Alabama is the like queen dog. But I will tell you that Arkansas was going on during the same time, which kind of confused me because there was this one girl that kept coming into my feed and she is hilarious. I'm going to like all the girls that we're chatting about, I think we're going to put them in the description box so that you guys can follow them and support them. But there's this one girl, I think her name's Kinsley.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. She's kept coming
like
up in my feed
Amanda
too.
Bynes. She just doesn't get ready with me in the morning, and she is hilarious.
And she kind of does some of the ASMR, like
Yeah,
she flicks
like
off
she
her.
flicks the thing and she's like, my mom told me that I should absolutely not tell you guys this. So I'm 100% going to tell you. And these stories that she tells. So she like, to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl has a future because people will just watch her all day. She's like very like Alex Earl, who's another very popular TikToker right now for this younger generation that just kind of is like beautiful and does the get ready with me thing, but is also just like a hot mess too and not afraid to say,
and she's
like,
telling stories
I have acne
yeah.
and I passed out at the cryogenic place the other day, all these things. It's just like so funny. And I guess like as a 40-year-old woman, like why I'm watching this content, it makes me feel young.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And the whole aspect too of just like, I'm so intrigued by ways that people can make money.
Yes.
You can make yourself a brand if you're willing to put yourself out there and take on all the bad that can come with the good.
Yes.
So fascinating. I can't wait to see like where everybody ends up and what they decide to do. But
I know, but for those of you out there who say, oh, I'm not really interested in rush talk or any of this, but what I think still we can take away from this is if you have something that you wanted to start, like in content creation, if you wanted to start a page or a platform, like it just shows that it is worth it to just get started, to just try, to put yourself out there, to document what it is you're doing, to create a storyline and take people along with you.
yeah,
To show up just as yourself, your relatable, messy, unpolished self, and people will take pieces of you and feel connected to that and want to be invested in your story. So it's worth it to try. I mean, if you are brave enough to get in front of the camera to record whatever it is you're doing, I say go for it, because if nothing else, like,
I feel like you're preaching to yourself right now.
I know
you a little bit.
She's so right.
You are,
because it's been a struggle for me too, like being on this side of the camera, but I'm getting better and I'm learning.
We're stretching ourselves in other ways, just like things that we've learned this summer at Haven that we're going to talk about in our next episode are stretching us. Like we're trying to create more content of our lives, like just documenting our lives and then creating content. We've started an LTK, which is if you are familiar with LTK, it's a really cool app where you can follow different, influencers or creators that you love. And we're just sharing everything over there. We're sharing like what we buy, what we work out in, what we use every day in our home, what we buy from Amazon. So like anything that you see us doing, making our coffee, like our microphones, we'll probably have our whole podcast set up in there too. If you're interested in starting a podcast one day, just anything that we're doing in our life, we're curating it for you over on our LTK. And that is linked on our YouTube channel. It's a very small beginnings right now. I think we only have like 5 posts, but we're trying.
Yeah, we're
putting ourselves out there. We have nothing to lose.
And really, like this Rush Talk was kind of there were other things along the summer and trends we've been seeing, but Rush Talk really kind of switched the way that I think to just the things that you think people aren't interested in seeing or that you think aren't worth documenting, document it anyways. And that's kind of what I've had to really change my mindset, because people are interested in like, oh, what's your morning routine? Like these are the things I see trending: morning routines, getting ready with me, outfit of the day. Like people just want to see what you're doing in your everyday life, how you drink your coffee. Like I did a coffee one, that was super fun and easy. I just recorded myself doing what I do every single morning. So I think there is a lot we can take away. I'm taking away a lot personally from it and the way that I'm approaching content creation for the Cypress Room and for my personal business. And I hope you guys out there will be encouraged to do the same.
We don't all have to be supermodels wearing head to toe designer outfits. Like we can just be ourselves. And it's just like we're girlfriends sharing like, hey, I just found this really great pair of jeans for people with long legs. I found this great pair of jeans for people who are mid-sized. I found a great pair of joggers for ladies who are 5'4". And they don't come down past my ankles.
For real though.
So I'm proud of you for putting yourself out there.
Oh, thanks.
And I think we can learn a lot from these ladies and their bravery for going through Rush. So I thank you guys for indulging us today. If you made it to this end of this episode, it's probably because you were sucked into Rush Talk too. So maybe we'll make this an annual thing.
I know that would be fun. I can't wait to see how it changes next year.
I know.
It'll be fun.
It's just so fascinating. It's so fascinating. There's so many subcultures out there. There's so many things to learn about. And yes, just very different from our sorority experience 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to say how many years ago, but it was
over 20 years ago, which is really crazy to say. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. So, well, thanks guys for indulging us. This was super fun.
This was fun. We really wanted to do this.
You guys took some nuggets away from our love of Rush Talk. Yeah. Go follow the girls. We'll put their handles in the description box below.
They're mostly on TikTok. So if you're not on TikTok, you're going to have to sign up. That's where the cool kids are.
But as always, leave a comment. Let us know what you liked. If you think that you have some ideas for future podcast episodes, we'd love to hear that. So go ahead and leave a comment below. We'll be in the comments.
Yes. Let us know if you had a sorority recruitment experience, positive or negative.
Let us hear about it.
Definitely. Please let us know if you were a Rush Talk fan too, and let us know your thoughts about that. We would love your feedback because we're not ready to let it go. I'm sad it's over.
Yes.
But it is over. But we can still talk about it for just a little bit longer with you guys.
Yes. And we'll be back with another podcast soon. So
yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time
in the Cypress Room.